Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the Vikes trading for Trevon Diggs. As Bleacher Report dropped an article recently saying that he could be on the trade block, so it doesn't make sense for the Minnesota Vikings. We'll break it down on today's show. And then also OTAs start today. So I got 5 storylines that all of you guys need to keep your eyes out for. But before we dive into it, if you guys could hit that subscribe button. We're actually only 77 subscribers away from reaching 57,000 subs. So I appreciate all the support on the channel. It's been unreal. It's been crazy year covering the Minnesota Vikings, and you guys just continue to show love. But if you have not already, hit that subscribe button. And also one thing, tough loss for the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. I actually thought they played one of their better games of the postseason. They're moving the ball well offensively. Obviously, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, Jaden McDaniels. I mean, those 3 combined for almost 65 points. They were fantastic. It was just you ran into the Thunder playing their A game. So tough loss for the Timberwolves last night. But, hey, hit that subscribe button if you guys want to stay up to date on your Minnesota Vikings. All right, let's talk about it. Trading for Trevon Diggs. So the former All-Pro corner has dealt with injuries over the last couple of years, and people are starting to speculate that he could be on the trade block. And Bleacher Report wrote up an article talking about 8 guys that could be traded, and Trevon was one of them, saying this: both cornerback Trevon Diggs and the Dallas Cowboys may be better off without each other. That may come across as counterintuitive considering how good Diggs has been when he's healthy, but he hasn't been healthy over the last 2 seasons. Diggs has endured back-to-back season-ending injuries to the same knee, which resulted in only 13 total appearances. The 26-year-old could bounce back, but the Cowboys might not get the return they expected after signing the 2021 first-team All-Pro to a 5-year, $97 million contract extension. The deal still has 4 years remaining, including the upcoming campaign. However, the Cowboys could save more than $9.6 million by trading Diggs after June 1st, according to Over the Cap. So there's definitely some incentive there, for the Cowboys to try to move off this contract. But this contract's definitely a doozy. And for a guy that has, lost his season back-to-back years, 2 injuries to the same exact knee, there are definite red flags around him. But here are the cap hits: $12.58 million in 25, jumps up to 18 in 26, jumps back up to 23 in 2027, then in 2028, $21 million. So, obviously the Vikings, people really do think they have a need at that cornerback 2 spot. And, you got a mixture of like Isaiah Rodgers, Mekhi Blackman, Jeff Okudah, Dwight McGlothern there. But I still believe that this Vikings coaching staff, they're not going to make a move for a corner unless it's for like a, no doubt, like a Jalen Ramsey type of guy, where I think they would view Ramsey as a guy who can step in day one and contribute at a high level. Now, on the Trevon Diggs side of things, he definitely could come in and make some impact, but I still wonder if they just view Isaiah Rodgers, Mekhi Blackman, and just hoping they're going to take their next step up. But I will say this: the archetype of a playmaking cornerback has excelled in Brian Flores' system. So maybe that's why it makes some sense for Trevon Diggs to head to the Minnesota Vikings, because we have seen guys like Xavier Howard back in 2020 when he was playing under Brian Flores, that ball hawk kind of gambling corner, have an awesome season in Brian Flores' system. And plus, if you would pair Diggs up across from Byron Murphy Jr., it's not like Diggs would be stuck, guarding the Jamar Chases, the Amon-Ra St. Browns. He would get the second option, which is, really something he has never had in his NFL career. But that playmaking archetype at the cornerback position, which Trevon Diggs is, hey, they have always played well under Brian Flores. And, we can look at what Xavier Howard did that 1 year under Flo back in 2020. Unreal stuff. 51 tackles and 20 PBUs with 10 interceptions. I actually remember one play he had against the Detroit Lions. It's like a one-handed interception back right in the end zone. It was unreal. But I also had a forced fumble that year. And, obviously Trevon and Xavier are, similar corners in terms of they both like to gamble. I do think Xavier in that 1 year, he was just a better natural cornerback, because Trevon is the definition of like, hey, I'm going to try to jump this route. I may get beat over the top for 30 yards, but also if I make the right read, I could take this to the house and have a pick 6. So, with the contract, with the injury history, Bleacher Report does believe it will only take a 6th-round pick to get Trevon Diggs. Now, I honestly think Trevon might be just a better name than obviously he is as a player at this point. And we'll just have to see if the Vikings have interest here. But this is also what Bleacher Report had to say. Another team in search of cornerback help should take a flyer on Diggs since he's one of the league's biggest defensive playmakers when healthy. A trade would help the Cowboys free up money to re-sign Bland, who is a free agent after the 2025 campaign, or for the mega extension that edge rusher Micah Parsons will inevitably sign. So, it definitely does make sense for the Cowboys from their side of things to move off Diggs. And I'll tell you what, if it's for a 6th-round pick, I'm interested because the Vikings are in a spot where they're looking for, kind of the cherry on top of their defense and of their team. And, because they already have that good base. You even got the icing, going to getting like a Hargrave and a Jonathan Allen. But to get that cherry on top and maybe Trevon Diggs, and for a 6th-round pick, 2025, Vikings view it as a Super Bowl year, I would definitely be interested. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Would you accept this trade? Trevon Diggs for 2026 6th-round pick. Give me an A for accept. Give me a D for decline. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'm probably doing it. I think I'm doing it. But I will say this. I think the Vikings, this could potentially be a deadline move for them where, obviously if the Cowboys, if they struggle, coming out the gates and they're 2-4, maybe they get desperate. This could even be for like a 6th to 7th round swap. So I would maybe wait for the deadline. And also like Viking side of things, like you have very easy first 5 games. So you should be 4-1, potentially 5-0 in those first 5 matchups. If you are, then maybe you go get ultra aggressive and get a guy like Trevon Diggs. But coming up next year on the show, I do want to dive into some of the top storylines to follow at OTAs. We finally got some real Vikings football back in our life, starting on later today. No media today, so we probably won't get a ton of info, but it will be open to media on Wednesday, which will be awesome. So stay tuned for that. But before we dive into it, if you guys want to get yourself a new Vikings hoodie, we got a sweet deal going on right now at chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie, where some of these hoodies are up to 50% off. Take advantage of this deal. If you guys want to get a hoodie for some of those cold summer nights, you're around the bonfire and you're repping your Minnesota Vikings, and then obviously you can still rock it during the fall and winter time. But hit that link, chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. I got that for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. All right, so the number one storyline I'm watching is going to be J.J. McCarthy squaring off with the best defensive coordinator in the National Football League, being Brian Flores. And, I was just thinking about it, trying to put myself in the shoes of J.J. McCarthy, how he's feeling heading to OTAs. And you got to imagine for J.J. that practice should be way more challenging than the actual games for McCarthy, because you're going up against Brian Flores, the most creative, chaotic defensive coordinator probably in the whole National Football League, where you really don't know what's going to happen on any given play. I mean, we saw how effective Flores was last year against specifically young quarterbacks. And when you are a young quarterback, you're always just a step behind in terms of processing, and you combine that with how creative Flores is, and just also with the Vikings improving that defensive line. He's going to have Grenard, Van Ginkel, Turner, Hargrave, Allen all running after him. Like, these practices at OTAs for J.J. McCarthy should be significantly more challenging than the actual games on Sunday, which would be a good thing for the Vikes because, obviously the old cliche, you want to make the practices harder than the games because then the games will just slow down naturally. Hopefully that happens for McCarthy, but that's the number one thing I'm watching at OTAs starting later today. But also number 2 here, wide receiver depth, because we all know Jordan Addison, he'll probably get that 1 to 3 game suspension. So who's going to step up behind him? Is it a guy like Rondell Moore? Is it still a guy like Jalen Naylor where, maybe I feel like I've been a little, I don't want to say disrespectful to Jalen Naylor, even though I do think as it stands right now, he should be slotted in as wide receiver 3. I just do think also after the preseason, after training camp, I think Ty Felton will prove himself to be that wide receiver 3. But what if it's a guy like Lucky Jackson, Thayer Thomas, Silas Bolden, UDFA from Texas? Like, what one of these wide receivers who also, Vikings perspective here, which also devastating news, Tristan Jackson did go to the Arizona Cardinals. But point being, like, the Vikings have had these random wide receivers just like pop in training camp, pop in preseason, and really make a name for themselves in the NFL. So who's going to be that guy this year? We'll have to wait and find out. But also a battle for cornerback too. We're already talking about that position here. Isaiah Rodgers, Mekhi Blackman, I think, are the front runners to win this battle. And specifically on Rodgers here first, like, apparently Brian Flores was pounding the table to sign him in free agency, which, Flores likes him. I like him too. So this is a guy, he's always graded out very well according to PFF over the last couple of years has not played a ton of reps, but, hopefully, even though we will get more reps, we'll get more playing time, the production stays the same. And then you got a guy like Mekhi Blackmon, popped in his rookie year. Unfortunately, last summer, tore his ACL, so he didn't see a single snap this past season, but he's fully healthy. He's ready to go. I think it's just as simple as this. Blackmon or Rodgers, they got to step up and be that cornerback too, but I love that competition heading in the OTAs here. And then also, I want to see an offensive identity change. And I don't know if we'll be fully, able to see this during OTAs because, it may just be tough to track how often are the Vikings running compared to passing and all that. But I just want to see if you can, get a sense of a more physical feeling offensively. Maybe it's a lot more two tight end sets. Maybe, we see a resurgence of a guy like C.J. Ham, or maybe we're using both Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones, and we're in shotgun. It's both those guys, next to McCarthy. I just want to see if anything's different. And then also a battle for the left guard spot, because I think we all assume Donovan Jackson will step in there and just, be the left guard right away. But also KOC, he makes these rookies earn it. And I would probably put my money when we see the first team or the first look at the first team offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings. I'd assume Blake Brandel is going to be still starting at left guard, but Donovan Jackson, he'll probably earn it right away. But I'll also be curious when the first preseason game rolls around, who's going to be starting there. But those are 5 things I'm looking out for. But overall, I'm just excited Vikings football is back. And if you guys are as well, give me a skull down below in the comment section. I cannot wait for just this damn season and enjoy the whole process with you guys. So appreciate all of you guys for watching today's show. See you all next time. Let's go Vikes.